There always has been something strange about old video games. It's not just the graphics or the limitations, but it's how open they are. They leave space for your imagination to run wild. The bigger they are, the lonelier they feel too. Think of the backrooms, for example. Places that should feel nostalgic and happy fill you with a sense of dread. Maybe that's why creepypastas and video games go so well together. From Ben Drowned to Sonic EXE, these stories became internet folklore. And one thing they all have in common is that feeling of loneliness, isolation even. But one game that does this really well is a game that goes by the name Petscop. It wasn't a story about a haunted game. It just was one. Back in the late 90s, a tiny indie studio called Carolina Interactive quietly released a little PlayStation game called Petscop. It wasn't flashy or loud, just a gentle pastel-colored adventure. You'd explore Evencare, a strange but comforting place filled with adorable creatures called guardians. Collecting lost pieces to help these pets find new homes in a magical place called the Gift Plane. It felt like a warm hug from childhood memories. Soft music, simple puzzles, and the cutest visuals. The game wasn't nearly finished, making it feel like even more of a secret between friends, something that only you knew about. Its charm was unassuming. But here's the thing. I've been lying to you. You see, Petscop never really existed. There never was a Carolina Interactive, and there never was a game. It's a carefully crafted illusion. A story told through found footage of a Let's Play. The story pulls you in and it tears you apart. Beneath that bright pastel surface lies something far darker than anyone could have ever thought. A tale of lost children, family tragedy, and death. Making Petscop the darkest game that never even existed in the first place.
I'm just gonna walk you through everything that I've seen so far. And obviously it'll be exactly as I described it because this is it.
We follow Paul, the anonymous player behind the Petscop YouTube channel, as he boots up what appears to be an unreleased PlayStation game. He walks around explaining the basic mechanics of the game. Something to note, however, that isn't exactly strange but will come into play later, is how he addresses the audience.
I've tried. This is always what happens. So I don't know what's up with that one. So, actually, I should show you the pause menu.
He addresses them as a single person, like he was recording this without ever intending on releasing it to the public. This idea will come into play more later, but even from the very start, Petscop toys with a subtle balance between good and evil, innocence and something far more sinister. It's almost like there's an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, yin and yang in digital form. The go back sign flickers nervously, like it's trying to warn us, and yet the only way forward is to press X, a choice disguised as progress. It's poetic, really. This might seem like a reach this early on, but you'll see why it's not the more we progress into the story. As Paul walks deeper into the world of Petscop, he stumbles into an unfinished part of the game.
So you can see that the game is apparently unfinished because there's nothing over here. So, I'm just gonna show you the
A vast void of absolute nothing. Usually games would put borders or something to stop you from entering, but Petscop doesn't do any of that. It shows how empty this game can become, and it shows us a glimpse of what is waiting for us. But without even letting us think too long about it, Paul continues onto his journey to the one and only level in Petscop.
the one and only level. This actually is not the interesting part, but I'm just gonna show you. I'm gonna walk you through all of this so you can see that this is exactly what I described.
It very clearly is a game intended for children. The only objective of the game is to catch all the pets. The very first pet we meet is Amber, and this is one of the most disturbing cases of foreshadowing that I have seen in a game. So pay close attention because this will be important later on.
Take the money here. And then actually you go over here and it just does that, but if you do this, if you lock yourself in here, then you just Amber will just run over there. So once you're in here, actually,
Paul catches Amber by hiding in her room that she considered to be safe. He comes up behind her and he catches her. Once again, this seems like a reach, but trust me, as we continue, you will see it is not. This game does such a great job of disguising darkness in this very happy kind of environment. The game very soon shows its true colors. As Paul walks into the room of a bird-like creature named Ronith, he discusses some kind of letter that was given to him with the game. And this is where Petscop changes.
the reason we're here is because in the note that came with this, which is short, the first line in all capital letters, I'm gonna read it. It says, "I walked downstairs, and when I got to the bottom, instead of proceeding, I turned the right and became a shadow monster man." Below that, a date, June 13th, 1997. "For you, colon. Please go to my website on the sticker, and also go to Ronith's room, and press start, and press down, 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 right, start." So I happen to know that this is Ronith's room, because it works. So I go here. I'm just gonna do this now. So what is it? Down, 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 right, start. Alright?
Suddenly, the entire vibe of the game shifts. All of a sudden, we notice how out of place Paul's character is in the environment around him. Everything around him is colorful, yet he looks dreary. The music has been doing a great job of disguising that.
Alright.
Paul finds himself in a dark, liminal environment. One that seems much more fitting for his character. The only source of light seems to be emanating from him. This exact moment marks the point where Petscop drops the facade. What once was an unfinished PS1 platformer now turns into something else completely.
Nothing out here, as far as I've seen. But actually, I think there is something out here. I just haven't seen it yet. Because it sure seems like, in this note here, it sure seems like, right, I'm supposed to come out here and look at something. I haven't found anything yet, but I'm thinking if I just keep walking around here, I'm gonna find something. Well, I just found this. And, last time I came out here, I was walking around in this space here for over an hour. And this time I find this in less than 15 minutes. So, this is just luck that I happen to find this. And, I think if I were to restart my console right now, I would not be able to find this again. Probably, because I don't remember what I did. You know, all the directions that I went. So I'm kind of scared to, I want to keep the console on until I figure this out. The situation is that I cannot open this door. I probably can open the door, but I don't know what to do. So I thought I would just slip this in at the end. If you think you saw something that might provide a clue, please let me know. Alright, that's it.
That brings us to the end of episode 1. And it also marks the last time that Paul would be given an out. Right now, Paul has two options. He can put the game down, forget it existed, and move on with his life. Or he could walk into that door, marking the point of no return. His life will never be the same again, and he knows it. The game is giving him the choice. Red pill or blue pill. The angel of the game can no longer save him, and the devil of the game can no longer convince him. This decision lies purely on the back of Paul. We hear a weird beeping noise, and the door opens by itself. Paul seems hesitant at first, but he enters nonetheless. And as Paul goes deeper, he starts to find collectibles, and that raises a question. Why? If this area wasn't meant to be discovered, if you need a whole cheat code just to find it and you only have a chance of even finding the door, then why are there items placed so deliberately? It's like someone or something is leaving a trail, but not to help, to lure. It also does reinforce the liminality of the space. It's almost like a reminder of what the game used to be. Paul goes deeper into this world, and he comes across a ringing phone.
Phone?
Upon answering it, someone says, "Care left the room." He looks to his right and he sees a picture. The picture is of a girl who we assume to be Care, and she is in 3 different states. A being neutral, B is a bit more rough around the edges. Her hair's standing up and she looks not exactly sad, but in distress. And NLM, which is her, covering her face, presumably crying. Paul ignores this, however, and continues his journey down the corridor. Eventually, he gets to another grassy place. There seems to be a shed, and to the left of it is a headstone. The writing reads, Michael Hammond, 1988 to 1995. Mike was a gift. This would make Mike 7 at the time of his passing. This just reinforces the tone shift of the game. What was once a game about catching pets is now this. The headstone itself seems to be a gift resting on some kind of long object, a lot like what we see in the loading screen of the game. Another detail that might seem minute but comes up later is the fact that Mike's name is written in pink. Care's name was written in yellow, and throughout the game we see people's name being written in different colors, meaning we could be associating the people to different colors. Paul then continues his journey. He walks into the shed and we see a very big daisy. Every time Paul interacts with it, he pulls out a petal. Every second petal he pulls, however, the screen shifts to a red hue. When there are 3 petals left, Paul gets hesitant and leaves the shed, going to the adjacent door. And inside this door, we see who appears to be NLM, with her hands covering her face and crying. Paul then walks back into the shed and he proceeds to pull out the last 3 petals, with the screen shifting to a red hue on the last one. Now, for this to make more sense, let's jump forward for a moment. In episode 3, Paul walks past a wall. Now this wall has writing on it. Good grief and alas. At first glance, it does seem random, but this is a direct quote from Daisy Head Maisie, a children's book by Dr. Seuss.
Daisy Head Maisie.
Daisy Head, Daisy Head, Daisy Head Maisie. Daisy Head, Daisy Head, Daisy Head Maisie. Daisy Head.
Children, be quiet. Good grief and alas. To think this is happening right here in my class.
Daisy Head Maisie is about a girl with a daisy growing out of her head. She feels like nobody loves her.
Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me.
So she uses the daisy to determine whether or not people love her.
The job of a daisy is try and find out. They love her. They love her not. They love her. They love her not.
They love me? They love me not. They love me? They love me not?
Don't worry, Maisie. They love you.
They love me!
In Daisy Head Maisie, however, the last petal lands on "They love me," whereas with Care, that doesn't seem to be the case. So we can assume that Care NLM stands for Nobody Loves Me. After pulling out the last petal and landing on They Love Me Not, Paul walks back into NLM's room. discovering her now on the floor, crying. He can't interact with her, so he just leaves.
Wait.
He keeps walking until he finds a room with a strangely shaped object. The object allows Paul to ask it questions. Paul types in "what?" and the object responds with "I don't know." This place that this object is in has a window, and looking through it, we see a windmill. As Paul tries to leave, the object says, "Keep watching the windmill." Paul does just that, and we hear this strange atmospheric noises. After a while of looking at the windmill, Paul decides to leave the room, and he starts talking, revealing more about himself.
Alright, so it's been like 2 minutes, and when those sounds were playing, there was nothing happening as far as I could tell, and nothing has happened since. So I'm just gonna keep going. There's already been stuff that I could dig a little deeper into, and I'm gonna do that and keep you updated. But also, when you come home next month, and hopefully you're feeling a little more enthusiastic about that now, we can investigate this together, and maybe you'll find stuff that I can't find here.
This is more proof that he is making this specifically for someone. Someone who he maybe lives or lived with. Paul finds himself in a room with a mirror, where there is a reflection of Paul's character with a differently shaped head. However, look what happens when Paul walks behind the shelf.
What the fuck? Wait a second.
The reflection is off by just a bit. You'll also notice that the room opposite of Paul's character has "Quitter's Room" written, but it's the right way. Meaning there's a possibility that we are the intruder in this world. At the back of the room, there is a note stuck to the wall. Written backwards, it says, "Do you remember being born?" Paul leaves the room, and Petscop 2 comes to an end.
Alright, so now we're gonna look at what's over here, which I forgot about this. So, I'll look at this now.
Petscop 3 starts off a bit strange. Up until now, every single episode has started where the last one left off. Petscop 3, however, starts with Paul in the middle of his sentence, and we find ourselves in a new environment, and we have no idea how we got here. It's almost as if someone had deliberately messed with the footage, raising the question, is Paul even the one behind the Petscop YouTube channel? However, we don't even really have a lot of time to think about it before Paul finds himself in front of a new puzzle. In a dark room, he finds an easel. Now, this easel has what I could only describe as a character customization menu, where you choose different eyes, noses, etc. until you make a face. Paul chooses at random, being pretty confused, and upon submitting, the room starts to shake. When Paul walks by a window, we see that the room is ascending, like an elevator. After a while, the room takes Paul to the bedroom of a child. Paul mentions how in the earlier area with the shed and the gravestone, each had a face on it, each face probably being linked to the characters. Before Paul even finishes this theory, another strange cut happens and we find ourselves back in that area.
Yeah. So, anything look familiar here? Yeah.
Once again, it feels like something or someone doesn't want us to know the directions on how to get to this moving room. Paul takes note on both faces and we cut back to the moving room.
Yeah, so probably we're supposed to try these out, put in these faces, and see what we get. So, start with this one.
Upon submitting the face, we see text appear saying, "Mike is not inside right now. He is dead. You may visit his room." The room begins to shake and we find ourselves inside what we assume to be Mike's room. The room has almost nothing to interact with and nothing really noteworthy, other than this red thing on the table. Upon looking closer, we see that it is the earlier object that Paul was asking questions to. A strange cut happens and we find ourselves back at the easel, with Paul having just submitted Care's face.
Nothing to see here. The bed's empty.
Once again, the room shakes and text appears saying, "Care is missing. You may visit her room." Inside Care's room, we once again see the red object that Paul was asking questions to earlier on the table. However, in the back of this room, we see a paper stuck to the wall. Paul steps closer and interacts with it. Upon doing that, we see text appear. "Your wife says Care isn't growing eyebrows. You say that's a puzzle. You're secretly very excited to hear this news. You're in the bathtub thinking about her. I have a guess at which child you'll pick next. When you find her room, the passage to my right will lead to her. She'll appear from the darkness, limping, and I'll shoot her in the head. Tiara says young people can be psychologically damaged beyond rebirthing. A young person walks into your school building. They walk with you. You're holding their hands. They come out crying into their hands because nobody will love them. Not ever again. Nobody loves me. They wander the new maker plane." A few noteworthy parts about this is the note describing someone crying into their hands, much like Care NLM. Directly after that, the note says "Nobody loves me," written in yellow. Now, if you remember earlier, when the phone rang, Care's name was written in yellow. So this confirms that NLM stands for Nobody Loves Me. Now, after reading all of that, it all seems to be catching up to Paul as he starts rambling, not really making a lot of sense.
It's possible. This game was made for... Well, this part of the game was made for somebody to see. Like, or at least at some point, it was, I don't know. It just seems like it was intended for somebody. Not me, certainly.
And with that, Petscop 3 comes to an end. And it seems like for every answer we get, 5 more questions pop up. At this point, this whole story is so convoluted and confusing, which could explain why Paul reacted like that after reading the note. He's probably at this point very frustrated with all of it. Every step he takes closer to the finish line seems to move further away. And at this point in time, Paul is unaware of it, but he doesn't even know the half of it.
Lonely roads and open skies echo all the last goodbyes. And if you're out there, please just